Thank you. Now we've heard opening comments from each of the candidates. We're going to begin with the questions, and we encourage you. We've got note cards being distributed, and look in the aisles if you don't have one. Also pens if you don't have one. So if you have a question, you can jot that down. Give it to the folks in the aisles. They'll get them up here to Frank and I. We have several questions, many questions, as a matter of fact, this time turned in ahead of time, and we also encourage those listening on 1380 KCIM to call in to 830-5623. We'll try to get as many of these questions in as we can. And so we'll get right to it. The first question is for our candidates for District 51 House of Representatives, and Dan Dirks, you'll be the first to answer this question. Give us some examples. Give us some examples of wasteful spending that you want to cut, and please be specific.
Well, I heard about some heated sidewalks down in southeast Iowa. I didn't go check on it, but I'm assuming that it was accurate because they had it written all over the place. I've been told that there's an entire parking lot in Des Moines that houses backup vehicles for the DOT. I listen to the radio so that I know that they advertise on WHO in prime time, Hawkeye Insurance. Why would you have to advertise welfare? I also have heard on the radio when they promote people to send in applications to the Department of Transportation, they're looking for help. When I thought we had an unemployment problem, they're spending money by the state asking people to send in applications. These are just a few of the blatant, wasteful spendings that I've seen recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan Dirks. Dan Muehlbauer, please give us some examples of wasteful spending that you want to cut, and be specific.
Well, in all budgets, when you think about wasteful spending, especially at the federal levels and whatever, we get into, you hear of parts being bought for hammers, hundreds of dollars in a hammer. There's a lot of expenses there that are just needing to be cut. We look into our road works of overcharging for labor that is being done. We need to work to make sure things are down and basic, that we are not wasting money on extra expenditures of things there. We have dealt with, on a county level, there has been different things. In fact, right now we're looking at, I think the timing could be a little bit off, as far as signage that's going up around the state. We're looking at putting signs all across the state that is maybe not needed right now. In fact, one of the signs that you're going to see coming out on every corner in Crawford County is our new 911 signs. They are identical to the old, and I don't quite understand why we're spending money to do the exact duplication of things like that. Those are just little things, but they're all add up, and we need to really look serious at the spending of where we're at and take control of that.
Thank you, Dan Muehlbauer. The next question is for the supervisor candidates, and Neil Buck, you'll answer this one first, followed by Cheryl Wagner. What ideas do you have to lower property taxes?
Well, to lower property taxes, I think we need to take a comprehensive approach. One thing that we need to look at is how much money is left in the reserve. I think we need to do a study to see what the minimum balance is at the end of each month, and perhaps we have too much money sometimes in the reserve. We do have adequate borrowing ability if that would be a problem. Typically, just good business functions. A few things I've done in the past is gone over the property insurance, which has saved us a lot of money in future years. Good maintenance of our secondary road equipment. I was working with the board when we decided to buy pups for our gravel trucks, and that is still saving us money every year as we move forward. Those are just a few points where I have saved money as a former supervisor. And similar areas can be found in the future. I have no particular agenda or person that I'm going to close down to save money at this time.
Thank you, Neil Bach. Cheryl Wagner, what ideas do you have to lower property taxes in Carroll County?
I don't know. Is it possible to lower property taxes? People are used to paying them now. Maybe if I would say not to raise your property taxes, that you might be happy with that. Sure, there are plenty of programs we can look at, but as a supervisor, when we vote on anything, any expense, we always say to each other, how is it going to affect the taxpayer? That's our most important object, is to how is it going to affect the taxpayer. So I don't know if we can lower your property taxes. There is money in the reserves. I think there's 7 million or 7 billion. I don't even know. I shouldn't even say that. But I would just try to promise you that we would do our best not to raise property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl Wagner. We're going to go back to the House race now. This question will go first to Dan Milbauer. Please give us your understanding of public school funding and how you would change it.
Well, with public school, one thing, I sit on boards down at West Central Community Action, and early education, early childhood, that is a Head Start programs. Those are a must, and we need to really fund those things. And the money, we have the silo money comes in, and we need to fund education to the top. I know it was cut a little bit this last year as Governor come across, did our 10% cuts, but we need to keep education strong. If you want jobs and we want new opportunities here in Midwest Iowa, we need to keep our education to the fullest. And Head Start programs are a good tool to start out with. So we really need to put our money and emphasis on Head Start programs to get our jobs, get our kids rolling and train and really do what is needed. And those are some areas with early Head Start, with colleges, community colleges. We need those to educate our people, to fill the job spots, come up with new opportunities and new jobs for our community here so that we can build and keep our state of Iowa going forward.
Thank you, Dan Milbauer. Dan Dirks, please give us your understanding of public school funding and how you would change it.
Well, I believe that the current way of funding the public school system is adequate. What I would change would be that I would make an attempt to have more parental involvement in their education. Any educator I've ever talked to in my life in regards to how do we provide better education for the students, and almost always the issue comes up of parental involvement. And the only way to do that is to get their checkbook involved. And I know this might be something that nobody's ever heard before, but a lot of times, if parents want to have something extra, or if the school, I think that school control should be as local as possible. School boards should be given as much power as possible, and the only way to get parents involved with their education is with their checkbook. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan Dirks. You're listening to the Chamber of Commerce Legislative Forum on 1380 KCIM. If you have questions out there in the listening audience, you can call 830-5623. We also encourage many of you here in attendance, to be filling out your note cards with questions and getting those to the front for us. There are people waiting in the aisle to take your cards. Next question again for the supervisor's race, and this time we're going to have Cheryl Wagner answer first. Cheryl, what is your weakest area of governmental knowledge and management?
I want to clarify what I said about the reserves before. It's $7,700,000. It just came to me. And my weakest area, I don't think I'm strong yet in all the areas. This is just the beginning of my learning curve, and I can't say I know everything about everything yet. But I'm learning. I'm willing to learn. I try. And if anybody has any suggestions for me, I truly would appreciate talking to you about it. I get a lot of advice from the supervisors and from the department heads and the staff, but I sure would appreciate anybody else helping me with anything that they think I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl Wagner. Neil Bach, your weakest area of governmental knowledge and management.
My weakest area covers everything because I worked in private business, and you could make things happen there. So I think patience, or I should say lack of patience, would be my biggest weakness. I always want things to happen a little quicker than you can make them happen in government, because whenever you work with the government entities, the wheels turn slower than I want them to. So I think my weakest area covers everything, and it comes back to patience.
Thank you, Neil.